Metaphysical musings on the implications of a time-symmetric reformulation of quantum theory. So I was watching several interviews with a physicist who believes that it is possible to dispel some of the ambiguity surrounding the underpinnings of quantum theory by replacing the classical notion of temporal asymmetry, i.e., the immutable arrow of time, with a time-symmetric reformulation of probability amplitudes. In this radical new view, boundary conditions in the future have as much of an impact on experimental results in the present as do boundary conditions in the past. In effect, one wave function propagates backwards, another propagates forwards, and they interfere in the present to create the experience that the observer experiences in the moment. Maybe it's my Parkinson's meds, but this interpretation would seem to provide the basis for a wholly reasonable and satisfying new take on metaphysics. One in which systems, when viewed from the appropriate perspective, exist as a fait accompli, as geometrically complete, as tomes on God's bookshelf, if you will. To extend the book analogy, each page or experiment seems fresh and spontaneous to the reader or observer, even though the story has already been written. One could be even more fanciful and wonder whether such books are structured along lines familiar from the murder mysteries of Agatha Christie. By which I mean the following. 1. By choosing her pool of suspects, she defines the initial boundary conditions that will play out as the story unfolds from past to future. 2. What many don't know is that she tended to craft her novels by identifying a particular suspect, making him or her the murderer, and then working backwards to give this outcome credibility. Doing so in effect sets up an important final boundary condition, one which propagates as counterpoint backwards, from future to past. 3. The clash or interference between the two creative drives is what enlivens each page, pages which are in turn entangled within their local neighborhoods, or chapters, and so as to collectively provide the reader with a novel and cohesive experience. And as long as we're speculating wildly, allow me to go one further. If it can be shown that the future does indeed hold some sway over the present, then perhaps we have the first inklings of a scientific explanation for the power of prayer. Perhaps the act of holding a preferred outcome in one's head counts not as supplication to a deity, but rather as observation or realization of a future event. Perhaps on a good day, such faith is strong enough to collapse a wave function and send its ripples on their merry way towards us, against the arrow of time, until a palpable impact is exerted, out of nowhere, in the present. Or not. What do I know? This essay is dedicated to my father, who passed away recently. He always encouraged the intellectual life.